You're about to watch me negotiate a subject to and seller finance deal live. And throughout this entire negotiation, I'm going to provide commentary to help you close more creative finance deals. Just to catch you up to speed, this deal is for a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow beach house in Corpus Christi. The beach house looks like this. Believe it or not, this is a FSBO. It's a for sale by owner property. The seller was trying to sell it by himself and can't. They weren't able to. But that's when my awesome partner Christine stepped in and said, "Hey seller, I'll pay full price. I'll pay $150,000 if you let me take over your loan, subject to, and you let me seller finance your equity." So pretty much what we're trying to negotiate is to buy this property with little to no money out of our pocket. We're trying to spend almost no cash. Pretty crazy, right? No, it gets crazier. We don't even need to qualify for this loan because we're going to take over a loan and finance another loan directly from the seller. So we're coming up to the seller's price, but he is meeting us on our terms. That is how I buy real estate, and that is how a lot of really smart investors buy real estate, and you should too. Are you ready? Let's jump into the call. But first, let me just show you where Corpus Christi is if you don't know. It's right here. It's right here. Cute little beach town. Come on. Come to daddy. Come on. Yay! All right, let's do some business. You're going to close this deal. Yes, you are. All right, great. Nice to meet you, Albert.
Nice to meet you.
If you don't mind, can you catch me up where y'all left off? So I just want to make sure we're all starting on the same page. On the second, third, fourth, fifth call with the seller, always ask them to catch you up on the prior conversation. This way you get to know where the seller is with their understanding of what is going on. You know, Christine and I are investors, and I'm also a realtor. So I buy properties around Texas, and I also help other people like my clients buy properties around Texas. I absolutely love Corpus Christi. I was actually down there a couple months ago, and it's one of my favorite beach towns in Texas. So tell me, how'd you end up with a house in Corpus Christi? Have you lived there for a while?
I moved over there for 2 years, and then I moved back to Houston.
Okay, so now you're in Houston. Gotcha. Okay, great. So did you buy this property and fix it up some yourself?
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, you did a really good job. Do you do a lot of like house flipping, or did you just teach yourself?
I actually I do a couple.
If you've noticed, I'm already a minute into this conversation and I have not even brought up the terms of the deal yet. No. First, just talk to the seller, get to know them, ask them about their life. What I'm trying to do here is to better understand the seller and see how familiar they are with real estate. So, what all did you do to this property?
Just the roof, painting, and the bathroom. That's about it.
Yeah. Always ask the seller what condition a property is in, what have they fixed, what have they not fixed yet. You need to understand what you're getting into if you're going to buy or wholesale this deal. Okay, great. And then, yeah, no, we're excited. This is a type of property where we love to make full price offers, and it's going to be a two parts to a transaction, and we can start with the first part. That first part is what Christine mentioned is subject to, and that's just a fancy word for saying that we want to take over your mortgage. And the simple reason is that you have such a great mortgage rate. You did amazing locking in a low rate mortgage. I believe that was around 4%, right?
4.6.
So PropStream gave us some bad data. We were told the mortgage was around 4%, but the mortgage rate is actually 4.6%. Is that a deal breaker? No, but you should be getting mortgages under 5%. 2%, 3%, or 4%. I like 2% a lot better than 4.6%, but that does not mean this is the end of the world deal. It's just not as ideal as I thought. So if the mortgage rate is going to be 4.6%, it's going to be on the higher end. I'm going to need the seller to work with me somewhere else to balance that out. I'm probably going to need them to come down on their down payment. Negotiation is all about give and take, and you'll see that in this conversation. It's still a pretty good rate, not going to lie,
Yeah.
because right now interest rates are what, 7 or 8%. So for us to get a home at 4.6%, it still makes sense. So that's why we'd love to take over your mortgage, and that's why we're able to pay full price for the property. We'll pay all closing costs. We'll pay any and all agent fees, so you don't have to worry about that. And we'll buy the home as is. I think the condition's pretty great, but we won't nitpick about small things. It's a super easy transaction. Now, I just want to start with the mortgage part. Do you have questions about us taking over your loan before we talk about your equity?
No.
Okay. I usually like to break these conversations down into two different parts. If I'm doing a hybrid deal, which means I'm doing subject to and seller finance, I first like to just talk about subject to. This is a lot of information for a seller. You're overloading them with a 4-year university course and a 20-minute conversation. So break things down simply. I like to start with subject to. Then we move on to seller finance. We start with the debt, then we move on to the equity. So I just asked him, do you have any questions? And usually they have a ton of questions, but this guy had none. They usually have a ton, this guy had none. When you ask this question, be prepared to go over the 5 objections. The 5 objections are in this video right here. Actually, no, probably right there. Probably right there. But this guy didn't have any questions. For the time being, I'm going to move on, but I may come back to this later. I may be like, hey, I know you didn't ask these questions, but I think we should still talk about the due on sale clause. I think we should still talk about your debt to income, right? Maybe you should bring those things up, but just bring them up later if he doesn't want to talk about them now.
We can say a lot of things, but what I really need to see is what's written.
Easy. Not a problem.
I need to see what's on paper.
Easy. Right after this. Yes, sir. Right after this call, I'll send you over the numbers. And if you like the numbers,
that's when I'm gonna have questions. If I have questions, okay. If everything seems good, we'll just do it
easy. I like the way you think. Perfect. Now I have a couple questions on your loan. So it's 4.6%, and you have a remaining balance of 54,000, roughly 55,000, right?
It's actually around 60.
Oh, it's around 60. Okay, so a remaining balance of 60. So that means you have $90,000 in hard-earned equity. When you're analyzing a creative finance deal, when you're talking to a seller about a creative finance deal, you start with the interest rate. Once you know the interest rate is good, once you know it's under 5%, then you move on to the loan balance. You want to understand what their debt is and what their equity is. That's what I just did there. Then you move on to things like, hey, what's your principal, your interest, your taxes, and insurance? Hey, how much you think the property will rent for? What's the cash flow? All that stuff. You move on to that later. But right now, we need to focus on the loan balance. I like to break things apart for sellers. This guy's really knowledgeable. He doesn't really need my help, but I think it's still important to break things apart. Hey, this is how much your debt is. This is how much you're taking over subject to. Hey, this is how much your equity is. This is what we're going to try seller financing. Just break those things apart. Start the conversation with the interest rate. Then move on to the loan balance, which is your debt and your equity. Then, as you'll just see, I will start talking about principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, the mortgage amount. Then I'll talk about rent. I'll talk about those things next, but start with interest rate, then move on to loan balance, then move on to those things. Make sense? Do you know roughly what you're paying for PITI every month?
PITI?
It's your principal and interest, your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, everything you're paying through escrow.
But I pay monthly, adding everything up together, it's probably around about 700 to 800.
700 to 800. All right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. So
yeah, because the house note itself without taxes is $377. Then taxes they're around $1,400 a year. You divide that by 12, it's about 120. You add on every month 130 around there.
And then insurance. What are you roughly paying for insurance?
With the insurance, that's the price one. It's about 2,000.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's so expensive for such a small home. It's probably just because you're next to the water, right?
Yeah, it's because we're next to the water and not every insurance company does the flood damage, but Corpus doesn't flood.
If a seller gives you their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, their principal and interest will always remain the same. But their taxes and insurance are going to change every year. And when you buy the property, the taxes and insurance will likely change. Sometimes with taxes, especially in Texas, if there's a homeowner living there and they sell it and now it's a rental property to you, they will lose their homeowner exemption, which means their taxes will actually go up. And insurance prices are always fluctuating too. So if a seller gives you their PITI, just make sure you double check their numbers because it may actually be higher than you think. Are you living near the beach now?
No, I'm in Houston.
Okay, but not down south near the water in Houston.
No.
All right. Do you miss the beach?
Man, I do, but the beach I really like is Port Aransas, man. I don't like Corpus. I like Port Aransas. I think Port Aransas is beautiful.
I've never been there, so you're telling me I got to go to that beach?
30 minutes away from Corpus.
Okay.
It's about 30-40 minutes away from the house.
All right.
But right there, it's beautiful, man. You got perfect fishing, everything, man.
You saw how the seller mentioned fishing? Take note of that. Look what's about to happen. And then, now, go ahead.
The water is nice. nice, man. It's like green, blue.
I tried to restart the conversation, be like, yeah, whatever, fishing, whatever, water, yeah, let's talk about terms. But you saw he cut me off. He cut me off. He did not want to talk about real estate at the moment. He wanted to talk about fishing. So guess what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about whatever the seller wants to talk about. Be adaptable.
Like when I'm telling you, it's a nice beach. It's nice. It's nothing compared to Galveston. It's nasty.
Yeah. Galveston's nasty. It's where all the frat kids go. Galveston's gross.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do a lot of fishing down there?
At Galveston?
No. At Port Aransas.
Oh yeah, man. There's a lot. You get hammerheads, sheephead,
Ooh.
red snappers. I've got a couple of groupers too.
Whoa. I don't know the first thing about fishing, but negotiations is all about relationships. So we're going to talk about fishing for a while.
It's really, really good fishing, man. We even caught a sea turtle one time.
Wait, what?
Yeah, a sea turtle. It got caught. It got caught on the hook.
You didn't eat turtle soup, did you?
No.
So this property, so were you going to rent it and then you just decided, I don't want to deal with tenants and toilets, or what was your?
Look, me and my wife, it was our first home. We moved over there in December of 2010, and we moved back to Houston in 2013. You could say the middle, and we bought the house in December of 2010.
Okay.
When we moved back, we rented it out for a couple of years with one family. Then we rented it out with her cousin, and then we rented it out again. And now we decided not to because we put it up for sale.
Gotcha.
We just don't want to deal with it.
You noticed that? What did he say at the end? He said, we just don't want to deal with it anymore. We don't want to be a landlord anymore. We don't want to deal with tenants and toilets. He said that, not me. He said, we don't want to deal with it anymore. That is the bunnies. Like Pace Morby says, those are the bunnies. Our man moved to a different city and he doesn't want to be managing a property from far away. That is his problem. And now we're going to come up with the solution. And the solution is sell me the house.
There's no restrictions at all. So, like, if you look at the neighborhood, there's the family next door to us. They built the house from the main road to the main street corridor all the way to Chestnut. So they made their house into a 4,000 square foot home.
Sometimes the sellers are pretty chatty, so you just got to let them keep talking. Gotcha. And when you were renting it, what were you getting for rent?
I was doing about $1,200.
Yeah.
At the beginning, right now at the end, I was doing $1,450.
Oh, okay. Always ask the landlord what they were getting for rent, or if they were to rent the property, what do you think it would rent for? It's good to get the seller's numbers. All right, so now I want to talk about the fun stuff. So as far as your money, so you have almost $84,000. Oh, actually, so you said, what was your loan balance again? You said it was close to 60?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have $90,000 in equity. If we're going to buy it for $150, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how much do you know about seller finance?
Not that much.
Okay. Then I want to tell you.
I got to put an interest rate on it, I guess.
Yeah. So I want to tell you why you would want seller finance, maybe why you wouldn't want seller finance, and my goal is to see if this is the right fit for you. This is how I approach seller finance. I say, hey, I would love to do seller finance with you. Do you know what that is? They're probably going to be like, no, or even if they say yes, they're like, please tell me. And then I just say, my goal is to write this offer, but it needs to work for you. You be honest. You say, may not work for you, but it works for most people. So I want to make sure it works for your needs and your lifestyle. I love that approach. It's honest, it's real, it just works. That's how we buy most of our homes. We take over mortgages and then we do seller finance for the equity. It works for most people, but some people it doesn't work for. So that's what I'm trying to get out of this call. And the easiest way to understand seller finance is just by understanding the lottery. This is my lottery pitch. I use it every day, multiple times a day, and I love this pitch. So in LA, some person won about $1 billion a couple weeks ago in the lottery. And if they took the lump sum amount, they only get like 500 and something million. And then after taxes, they're only getting like 350 million. But if they take the payments option, they're going to get $1 billion over the next few years. So most people would just be like, I'll take the $1 billion, right? I'll just take it over the next few years. And that's the same thing with your property. You can, get lowball cash offers, which I'm sure you got. That's not our style. And then you can pay, capital gains taxes on that. Or you could sell or finance your equity, where we give you more money, we give you some interest, and we give you that money over time, and you can avoid a large majority of the capital gains taxes because you're deferring that money over a longer period of time. So that is seller finance in a nutshell. And the reason why you would want it is all those reasons I explained. The reason you wouldn't want it is for some reason you needed all that money and you needed it right now. And if you wanted less money and you wanted it right now, then seller finance doesn't work. But if you want more money over time, this is probably the best solution for you. Okay, I want your honest opinion. What do you think about my seller finance pitch? I put my heart on the line there. I put everything into this negotiation. What do you think? How do you think it went?
I gotta see what you're offering, man. I've
No
already
problem.
had about 10 people offer me the seller finance.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm here for. I want to first understand if it's something you're open to. It seems like you are. And now I will put.
I'm open to it, but I'm basically gonna be the bank.
You're going to be the bank, and the bank makes the most money. So being the bank is the best. He's entertaining the idea of seller finance, but he's not fully convinced yet. So what I'm going to try doing next, I'm stumbling a little bit. I'm trying to find another way to approach this. I thought, okay, he's rented this property in the past. Let me say, hey, if we do seller finance, I can get you income, passive income. You've rented this property in the past. You've gotten some cash flow. I can give you more money and it can be passive. So that's what I'm going to try shooting for right here. But you're going to see it doesn't work that well. We could get you, what number per month is making sense. So if you're renting that property for, 14-ish hundred, and after your $800 roughly in expenses, and then you also have probably property management expenses, you have vacancies, you have all that stuff, you're probably, netting less $300 something. Am I right? After everything's done, what do you think?
No, actually, I was doing pretty good, and I already had the lawn guy that was going to cut the yard. I got him doing the house every 2 weeks right now, so that was pretty good. Maintenance wise, I really didn't spend that much money on maintenance, man.
Okay.
Because I pretty much check the house at least every 6 months. I check it myself.
Great.
And I already know what I'm doing. I do it. This is what my business is.
Yeah. No, you're the guy for this.
I'm doing the houses I'm doing the apartments right now for Cardone, the 10X Living or whatever guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can see this guy's very knowledgeable about real estate. He understands investing really well. He's actually very well connected. He is a pro. Yeah. My goal is to try to get you, your cash flow, but without having to deal with, tenants and toilets and owning the property. My goal is to just get you that money every month, just dropped into your bank account on the first.
Finance, I'm straight up with you right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do less than $1,200 a month.
Well, so that doesn't make sense for us as investors because then we have, over $800 in costs.
It doesn't make sense for me if I'm doing the favor.
Well, why would it not make sense? Wouldn't you? At $1,200 a month means you're only carrying the loan for like 3 or 5 years. Wouldn't you rather have interest over a longer period of time? Like banks do 30-year mortgages because it pays them more interest. You would want to carry the loan out for a longer time to make more money with more interest. Know what I'm saying?
Yes, but it depends on how much I'm going to make on it.
I pulled that comeback out of my ass. When you're negotiating, you got to think on your feet. The guy said, it doesn't make sense for me to get less than $1,200 a month. Oh, why wouldn't it? I'll give you more money over time. Just hold that note for longer and you will make a lot more money. So we'll just run some numbers right now. So a $90,000 loan, which is what you would have, would for 30 years at 3% would be over $46,000 in interest. And that would be $380 a month. If you're trying to do creative financing, you don't have an amortization calculator open every single second of the day, you're doing creative finance wrong. Always have an amortization calculator open. Go on Google, type an amortization calculator, click the second link, and bingo. This will tell you how you set up your seller finance deals. It's the most important tool to have. It's so important. So you would not get 90,000, you get $136,000 over the course of time. And again, that's, again, I'm not a CPA, but that money is, taxed differently than if you're getting it all right now. And, we're still paying your full price for your home. We're still covering closing costs, no agent fees to you. And that's how we like to write our offers. So what do you think about something like that?
Send it to me in writing.
I gave it my all. Was it perfect? No, I made some mistakes. But all in all, I think I did a really good job. But you're not always going to get a seller to say yes on the first or second or third call. It's taken me 10 plus calls sometimes. This guy may come around, but he's the type of guy that wants to see the numbers on paper. You send him the numbers on paper, he may be like, yeah, that works. You have no other houses you want to sell?
No.
Just this one.
Yeah, just that one. That's the only one I have in Corpus.
Okay.
Everything else I got it here and then El Salvador. So
yeah,
I'm good.
And then whether we make a deal or we don't make a deal, I still want to come down and fish with you.
Hey, you don't invest out of the country?
At the end of every call, always ask the seller if they have another property they may be interested in selling, or if they know someone that wants to sell their property. Doing that is actually how I got one of my best deals ever. And when you do that, you may hear some absolutely crazy stories. Like this guy's about to go on a monologue about how he's building a 200-unit hotel in Venezuela and asked me if I knew some investors. The most crazy things will happen. No, but I'm open to it. I'm actually trying to move a property in Panama right now. So what do you got?
I'm actually, do you know any investors? I'm trying to build a hotel in El Cuco.
Okay.
In El Salvador.
Okay.
Look at the beach. Look it up, El Cuco.
That's it for the call. We'll see if we get the deal. I really hope we get this deal. It's an awesome property. I love the seller. He's a great guy. And my partner, Christine, is such a great JV partner.
And let us know if you have any questions.
I will.
Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Albert. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
By the way, I hate fishing. I've never fished in my life.